Good morning students. In this video we are going to discuss about very important concept plant breeding from the chapter strategies for enhancement in food production. Let us see today's concept in detail. Traditional farming can only yield a limited biomass, isn't it so? The methods which are following by our ancestors. And as food for humans and animals, better management practices and increase in acreage can increase yield, but only to a limited extent. Plant breeding as a technology has helped increase yields to a very large extent. So that's why present generation scientists are using plant breeding technology to increase the yields enormously, whereas traditional farming method can give only limited biomass, only limited yield. Understand? So in India there is an important program named as Green Revolution, which was responsible for our country to not merely meet the national requirements in food production, but also helped us to even to export the grains to other countries. In such a way, Green Revolution played a great role in our India, started by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. So this Green Revolution, which was started by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, he is popularized as father of Green Revolution. This point is very important for theory exams. Please make a note of it. Next, Green Revolution was dependent to a large extent on plant breeding techniques for development of high yielding and disease resistant varieties in crops like wheat, rice, maize, jowar, etc. So plant breeding plays a major role to increase the productivity in the whole country. First of all, we should know what is meant by plant breeding in detail. Let us see in detail regarding plant breeding. Plant breeding is the purposeful manipulation of plant species in order to create desired plant types that are better suited for cultivation. Understand? And give better yields and are desired resistance to different kinds of diseases. Understand? So plant breeding technique is a purposeful manipulation of plant species growing in large scale for better yields, and as well as disease resistancy also has to be absorbed in that plant breeding program. Okay, so conventional plant breeding has been practiced for thousands of years, like early man time onwards, our grandparents, grandparents onwards. Since the beginning of human civilization, this was happening, continuing. So records for this evidence of plant breeding dates back to 9,000 to 11,000 years ago. See, such a great history is there for plant breeding program. Okay, many present day crops are the result of domestication in ancient times only. You know students, in ancient times the domesticated crops like rice, wheat, maize, etc. once upon a time they are also wild varieties, but early man identified that they are useful for our daily diet and started domesticated, and after domestication they became as a now general domesticated crops. Understand? So today all our major food crops are derived from domesticated varieties only. Understand? So classical plant breeding involves crossing or hybridization of pure lines. This is important technique. followed by artificial selection to produce plants with desirable traits of higher yield, and nutrition and resistance to diseases also should be absorbed in that plant breeding program. With advancements in genetics, microbiology and tissue culture, plant breeding is now increasingly being carried out by using molecular genetic tools in present days in the India and as well as in the whole world also. If we were to list the traits or characters that our breeders have tried to incorporate into crop plants, the first we would list would be the increased crop yield and improved quality only. Understood, students? So, increased tolerance to environmental stresses should be observed, should be practiced by the scientists. Then what about environmental stresses like high salinity, extreme temperatures, drought, etc. comes under environmental stresses. You can see on the screen production of new hybrids through plant breeding technology which were meant for all these favorable characteristics, like they should tolerate to environmental stresses like high salinity, extreme temperatures, drought, etc. Even resistance to pathogens like viruses, fungi, bacteria even should be absorbed in those new hybrids which we are producing through plant breeding technique. And increased tolerance to insect pests would be one more list to be added to this. Understand? So plant breeding program are carried out in a systematic way worldwide. In government institutions and even commercial companies also. Okay, the main steps in plant breeding there are many. The plant breeding steps are genetically variety of crops can be seen even. What are those different steps can be observed in this aspect? First step, collection of variability. Students, what is meant by collection of variability? Genetic variability is the root of any breeding program. Please remember it. So that's why we should select the crops which are genetically strong enough. In many crops, pre-existing genetic variability is available from wild relatives of the crop. Collection and preservation of all the different wild varieties, species and relatives of the cultivated species also can be done, followed by their evolution for their characteristics. So, cultivated species is a prerequisite for effective exploitation of natural genes viable in the populations. So, the entire collection of plants, seeds having all the diverse alleles for all genes in a given crop is called germplasm collection. What is meant by germplasm collection? This is important question for 1 or 2 marks category also. Let me explain this question in short detailed. The entire collection of plants and seeds having all the diverse alleles for all genes in a given crop is called as germplasm collection. So this is the first step, collection of variability. So we are collecting variable seeds and plants through a method called as germplasm collection. Hope you understood. Next, second step, evaluation and selection of parents. Let us see about this step. The germplasm which we have collected in the first step, the germplasm is evaluated as so to identify plants with desirable combination of characters. The selected plants are multiplied and used to the process of hybridization. Understand? So pure lines are created wherever desirable and possibility is present in the plant breeding program. So in the second step, evaluation and selection of parents, the germplasm should be evaluated very carefully. Understand? Next, third step, students, let us see what it is. Cross hybridization among the selected parents. Suppose we have selected A parent and B parent, we should undergo cross hybridization. Let us see what the step is saying to us. The desired characters have very often to be combined from two different plants or parents also. For example, high protein quality of one parent may need to be combined with the disease resistance from another parent. Then what may happen? The young one will be having both the characteristics. What are those? One is a high protein quality, next disease resistance from pathogens. So this is possible by hybridizing the two parents to produce hybrids that genetically combined the desired characters to as a one single parent. This is a very time consuming and tedious process, since the pollen grains from the desirable plants chosen as male parent have to be collected and placed on the stigma of the flowers selected as female parent. This should be done manually. So about this one we had a discussion in chapter 2, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, emasculation process. We need to identify the plant which is having strong pollen grains. Those pollen grains must be collected and dusted on the stigma of same flower or another flower. The process is called as emasculation, and or else to avoid the further pollination process, the stamens can be also removed in a bisexual flower if the plant is bisexual or if the flower is bisexual. Understand? Please underline. Next, also it is not necessary that the hybrids to combine the desirable characters. Usually only one in few hundred to 1000 crosses shows the desirable combination. Remember it, it is very important point. Next, fourth step, selection and testing of superior recombinants. You can see on the screen, selection and testing of superior recombinants. This step consists of selecting among the progeny of the hybrids those plants that have the desired characters combination. The selection process is crucial to the success of the breeding objective and requires careful scientific evaluation of the progeny is very important here. That is doing by the scientists. On the screen you can notice it, you can see very clearly. This step yields plants that are superior to both the parents. Very often more than one superior progeny plant may becomes available. Understand? So these are self-pollinated for several generations till they reach a state of uniformity. The uniformity phenomenon is called as homozygosity. We learned this concept even in first PC also. So that the characters will not segregate in the progeny. Understood? So last step in this plant breeding, testing, release and commercialization of new cultivars. The newly selected lines are evaluated for their yield and other agronomic traits of quality. Disease resistance also should be tested actually. After testing that only they are releasing into society. So this evaluation is done by growing these in the research fields. Okay, and the research field you can see on the screen, they are doing test. After doing the test only they are releasing into the society. This evaluation is done by the growing these in a research fields or recording their performance under ideal fertilizer application. Irrigation and other crop management practices only should be practiced and tested and should be released into society for commercialization. The evolution in research fields is followed by the certain measurements only, by testing the materials in farmers fields. for at least 3 growing seasons at several locations in the country. For example, in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, in Delhi, or Haryana, in different states at a time. The test should be done by the scientist. If the got succeeded, then it should be released to the society for commercialization. That too, the testing should be done in different growing seasons only. Then only we can come to know either the plant should grow in a natural climatic conditions or not. Understood, students? So representing all the agroclimatic zones where the crop is usually grown. So the materials is evaluated in comparison to the best available local crop cultivars. Check or refer cultivars. So the cultivars will absorb it and will release into the market. India is mainly an agriculture country. We know this one. Since ancestors, since many centuries onwards, India's major occupation is agriculture only. Agriculture accounts for approximately 33% of India's GDP and employs nearly 62% of population. This concept is very important for competitive examination. Please remember and make a note of it. After India's independence, one of the main challenge to face by our country is nothing but producing enough food for the increasing population. Then how it is possible? As only limited land as fit for cultivation, for India differently it is a difficult challenge. India has to strive to increase the yields per unit area from existing farmland only. So the development of several high yielding varieties of wheat and rice, jowar, maize in the mid of 1960s were increased a lot. As a result of various plant breeding techniques led to dramatic increase in food production in our country. So the decade is 1960s. So with that regard, the decade is called as Decade of Green Revolution. The movement is called as Green Revolution, started by a great scientist in our country, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. So with this great contribution, the scientist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan is popularized as Father of Green Revolution. Please make a note of it. It is important for one more category also. Who is Father of Green Revolution? Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Understand? So he produced some Indian hybrid crops for high yielding in our India. Understand? Let us see how he increased. First of all, let me discuss about wheat and rice. During the period of 1960 to 2000, wheat production increased from 10 million tons to 75 million tons, while rice production went up from 35 million tons to 89.5 million tons. See what an enormous increasement have taken place after independence, especially in the decade of 1960 till 2000. So this was due to the development of semi-dwarf varieties of wheat and rice only. So a great Nobel Prize awardee is here. His name is Norman E. Borlaug at International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement in Mexico. He developed semi-dwarf wheat. Understand? So this scientist name is also very important. Remember it, ma. In 1963, several varieties such as Sonalika and Kalyan Sona, which were high yielding and disease resistant, were introduced all over the wheat growing belt of India. Wheat growing belt of India means most probably North India. So in that North India, they started introducing this Sonalika and Kalyan Sona for high yield. So semi-dwarf rice varieties were derived from IR8, developed at this variety is developed at International Rice Research Institute, shortly called as IRRI, located at Philippines, and Taichung Native 1. It is from Taiwan. So the semi-dwarf rice varieties were derived from IR8, which is located in Philippines, and Taichung Native 1, which is located in Taiwan. This concept is also very important for competitive examinations. Please remember, students. So the derivatives were introduced in 1966 exactly. 1960 is a common decade, but exactly in 1966. So later better yielding of semi-dwarf varieties such as Jaya and Ratna were developed in India. Those Jaya and Ratna varieties can be seen on the screen, students. Next, about sugarcane, students. Sugarcane, a scientific name Saccharum barbarii, was originally grown in North India but had poor sugar content and yield also very poor. Tropical sugarcanes grown in South India, scientific name is Saccharum officinarum, had thicker stems and higher sugar content, but it is not growing in North India. See the different characteristics of these two different sugarcane varieties. So these two species were successfully crossed to get sugarcane varieties combining the desirable qualities of high yield. So thick stems, high sugar content and ability to grow in the sugarcane areas of North India can be observed. All these better qualities in one sugarcane plant only, produced by crossing these two sugarcane varieties. One is Saccharum barbarii, which is originally grown in North India. Second one is Saccharum officinarum, which is growing in South India. Understand? Next, students, one more important one here about millets. You can see on the screen different millets plants. Hybrid maize, jowar and bajra have been successfully developed in India. By whom? By Dr. M.S. Swaminathan only. Hybrid breeding have led to the development of several high yielding varieties, and not only for a high yield, even for resistance to different diseases, even water stresses, etc. So these were semi-dwarf varieties produced by great scientists in our India, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, and in the total world means a Nobel Prize awardee Norman E. Borlaug. Understand? So students, with this concept I conclude this video. Hope you understood. We will continue another concept in the next video. Thank you one and all.